What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. Today what we're going to do is talk about price predictions, realigning your expectations with reality. So we've all heard any number of price predictions for Bitcoin, for the market cap, for other coins. We hear them every day on YouTube especially. So what we're going to do is look at Bitcoin and the total crypto market cap and determine what of these price predictions is actually within the realm of possibility and which of them seem to be more far-fetched. So we're going to do this by, first of all, looking at the total crypto market cap. Okay, so we need to look at the total amount of money in the market, the total amount of money in Bitcoin, and see how those factors align with one another. So let's start with looking at Bitcoin, and this is the total market cap per year. 2017 was up around 3,000% that year, and that was an increase in the total market cap of about 500 billion. So we went from 15 billion up to around 530 billion or so. So 2018 and 2019 weren't very good years. 2020 was a very good year. We went up $400 billion that year, although a lot of that was just recovering what we had lost in 2018. Then 2021 was the year that really started to set the precedent that said that, this market can actually become huge. We've gained $2 trillion in the market cap so far in 2021. So right now, the market cap is sitting right at around 2.7 trillion with a high of around 2.8 trillion. Okay, so we came into the year with a total market cap right at around 725 billion, and we're sitting right at around 2.7. So we've added about 2 trillion. So here we have the Bitcoin dominance. If you're not aware, this is just the percent of the market made up of Bitcoin. So in other words, you can imagine back in 2011, 2010, 2009, up through basically 2015, almost the entire market was Bitcoin. There was nothing else. There were other coins, but a lot of them were scam coins or just, memes or whatever. But Bitcoin essentially made up around 99+% of the market at that time. So it wasn't until around 2016 that Bitcoin really took its first hit to being the only game in town. And, this sort of corresponds with the rise of Ethereum. If you recall, Ethereum was released in 2015. And even at this time in 2016, Bitcoin was still essentially hands down the dominating force in the market. This sort of coincides with that 2017 bull market really going parabolic, or starting to go parabolic anyway. And this is when Ethereum and some of the other altcoins started to rise. Then when we hit the true alt phase, the altcoin phase of that 2017 market, the Bitcoin dominance went from around 70% and plummeted down to 35%. So if you look right here from the time that Bitcoin really started to plummet, it was sort of in December, right? It made up around 70% of the market at that time. And if we line these up, you'll note that the dashed lines are aligned by date. So this is December 7th, 2017. And from this time, when Bitcoin dominance drops from 70 down to around 35, watch the total crypto market cap. You'll note that it goes at this time from 365 up to around $750 billion. So the market cap almost doubled during the time that Bitcoin's dominance was plummeting. So what that indicates is that the altcoins, including Ethereum at the time, were really gaining a lot during this time period. So this was the time, right at the end of the market, that people traditionally refer to as the blow off top. So that refers to Bitcoin's dominance dropping while the altcoins go parabolic. And that peaked out right at around here on January 5th or 6th of 2018. From that time, Bitcoin slowly started to regain its dominance, coming all the way back up, back to this peak level at around 75. This level has sort of acted as a level of resistance, so to speak, with regards to Bitcoin's dominance. We can look again, you can see Bitcoin's dominance fell yet again from around 70 to down to these lower levels nearing 40, even going below 40. And if we go back to the chart again, so this is the total crypto market cap, yet again, we see this is when the market as a whole goes parabolic, when Bitcoin's dominance is dropping. So Bitcoin's dominance is not dropping because of a drop in price of Bitcoin. It's dropping due to a drop in price, an increase in price of all the altcoins. Right around the beginning of the year, 2021, up to the peak, you'll see at the peak is right when Bitcoin's dominance reaches its bottom. A lot of the characteristics that you saw back in 2017 actually did play out during this first leg of the bull run in 2021, where Bitcoin's dominance drops, all the altcoins gain a ton in their market value. In fact, yet again, the market went from around 800 billion up to around 2.6 trillion. So in the prior cycle, the market doubled right at the end here, going from around 350 up to 700 billion. This time, the market nearly tripled in value. A large percentage of that was due to the altcoins. This is showing the increase in value of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, and of the total asset class, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, from the prior market cycle peak until the current peak that we've reached, just recently. Bitcoin has added around $900 billion in this time. Ethereum has added $400 billion, and the altcoins have added around $680 billion. Now you'll note the total value of altcoins is around $990 billion. Bitcoin is $1.2 trillion, and Ethereum is $533 billion. So the total altcoin market cap is right around the same as the total Bitcoin market cap. And again, this is all important for what we're going to show here. This brings us to the price predictions. What we're going to do is look at 100,000, 200,000, 3, 5, and $1 million. We're going to look at those price levels, those price predictions that you hear people make all the time. So right now, recall we're sitting at Bitcoin valuation of $1.2 trillion. To get up to $100,000, and I'll just remind you, when you calculate a market cap, you need total number of coins multiplied by price. So I'm going to give it a little time. So I'm going to say 19 million coins. Right now there's 18.8 and change. I'm going to let it get up to 19 million coins, which would give it about 3.5 or 4 more months. I'll use that number then to estimate these values. So what that says is at $100,000, that would be a 1.9 trillion market cap. At $200,000, 3.8. At $300,000, 5.7 trillion. All the way up to $1 million would give us a $19 trillion market cap just for Bitcoin. And that's the key point, just for Bitcoin. Now remember, when you hear these price predictions, Bitcoin is not the only game in town. And Bitcoin doesn't go up in a vacuum. It goes up with the other altcoins, with Ethereum. So when you hear these numbers, you have to ask yourself, well, okay, that's the value of Bitcoin. Everything else is going to go with it, unless you just assume everything else is going to go to zero in the next 3 months. When we add up the total valuation of Bitcoin, remember what we said back here, when Bitcoin is going, when Bitcoin valuation is going up, the altcoin valuations are usually going up too. And if you're saying Bitcoin's going to $300,000, that's quite an exceptional bull run. And what has happened every single time that Bitcoin, in the setting of a bull run, what has happened to Bitcoin dominance? In general, it's dropped. So if you're saying we're going to 300,000, that means the altcoins are going to be moving with it. And especially Ethereum's going to be moving with it. We can't just look at this number in itself. We have to look at these numbers. So historically, Bitcoin has remained between this 75% dominance peak and 35% dominance peak. However, like we said, when we're in a bull run, it tends to be down here closer to 35. Nonetheless, we'll still use this 35 to 75% dominance range as a framework for calculating where the total cryptocurrency asset class market cap would be. This then shows us where the total market cap would be given these various prices. So remember, I'm using that 35% Bitcoin dominance up to 75% Bitcoin dominance to calculate these numbers. If Bitcoin were to get to $100,000, that would put the cryptocurrency asset class market cap at between 2.5 trillion to 5.4 trillion. That seems very attainable. Recall right now we're at 2.7 trillion, with Bitcoin being on the lower end of the dominance scale, because we're down here right now at 43%. Remember, to get this lower end number, you have to have a Bitcoin dominance up here, right? You have to be up here, which we have never seen in the setting of a late stage bull run before. We're always down here during a late stage bull run. In general, I suspect these numbers are much, much closer to what would actually play out rather than these first numbers, because these represent, the numbers on the left represent a 75% Bitcoin dominance level, whereas these numbers represent closer to a 35% Bitcoin dominance level. So a $5.4 trillion market cap, I think, would be reasonable, or let's say 5 trillion if you got to $100,000. Now, if you went to $200,000, that would put us somewhere between 5 to 11 trillion. But again, I suspect we'll be much closer to 11 trillion because Ethereum is going to be going up. So are all your other large altcoins. They're going to be going up as you are getting money into the market approaching $200,000 for Bitcoin. This is when we start to get to the much higher estimates. So let's say $300,000. Is $300,000 likely in the short term? So we would be at a market cap somewhere between 8 trillion up to 16 trillion. Recall, we're at 2.7 right now. So $16 trillion market cap is likely where we would be if we were to go parabolic to the point where Bitcoin is able to go up approximately 5 times from where it's at right now. So 16 trillion. This level, for me, marks the peak for what I think is even within the realm of possibility for this market cycle. I don't even think that is possible. I don't think it's very likely you have $16 trillion move into the crypto asset class, at least within the next 6 to 9 months. Maybe if you start to get out to 2023, 2024, and somehow the market cycle is still going on, or even into the beginnings of next market cycle, yes, I think this is completely within the realm of possibility. But at the moment, what I do think is possible is maybe a $10 trillion market cap, somewhere around there. I mean, that's still a lot, guys. That's still, you have to go approximately 4x for the entire market cap from where we're at right now. And there is already a ton of money that has moved into the market in the short term. Just to put it out there before we keep going, for me, somewhere between the 200,000 to 300,000 seems like the upper limits of what is possible. Now, when we get up to 500,000, this is when we start to get to numbers that I do not, I would say are not possible. Maybe it is, and maybe the ETF could be the thing that proves me wrong, where just tons of retail money is going into the ETF. Institutional money is going into the ETF. Maybe that is something that could push the dominance back up to approaching 75, and could invalidate my argument that we're likely to be on this end of the scale. But short of that happening, and we would still have to see how that plays out. Short of that happening, I think, at least given current market conditions, 27 to 54 trillion is more than likely where we would find ourselves. Because remember, people are going to be investing in Ethereum and the other altcoins as well. Finally, that brings us to $1 million. And that puts you at a market cap between 25 trillion to 54 trillion. Now, that's just, to me, is not possible. And here is a primary reason why. So we have gold, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, silver, Tesla, and Facebook. All of these assets and commodities, or equities and commodities combined here. The combined value of all of these, 6 of the biggest companies in the world and 2 of the largest commodities, is 23 trillion. That doesn't even get us to the $1 million market cap. All of these combined does not get us to the $1 million market cap. The $500,000, it just puts us to the $500,000 level if we take all the money out of all of them and put it all into crypto, and that's it. That to me indicates why I think, at least in the short term, somewhere between the $200,000 to $300,000 level is more than likely what is possible, because I think there's going to be, institutions are going to start coming into Bitcoin much more than they have in the past, but there's going to be sort of a let's see how this goes period. They're not just going to be going, full MicroStrategy and going all into Bitcoin. Their boards have to approve the purchase. These boards, they make purchase decisions quarterly. This isn't the kind of thing where they're sitting around in their living room and making a decision on the spot. That's kind of what I tend to think is probably going to happen. So I think you're going to see the institutions coming in. You're probably going to see this market cap rising over time. But I do not think you're going to start seeing things north of 15 trillion, heading towards the 500,000 to $1 million level, at least not in this cycle. I do think some of these higher valuations are certainly within the realm of possibility next cycle. That's it for this one, guys. I know that was a lot. It's a lot of information. If you guys like this type of content, hit like and subscribe. And until next time, as usual, see you.